Well, ho 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 everybody! Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year! Yes, I know you're thinking it's probably a little too late to make this video, but I personally don't care. I wanted to talk about some of the video games that I remember getting from Christmas. It's such a fantastic time of the year. Everybody's so jolly. You got the Christmas music, you got the fireplaces, you got the snow, and I want to share some of my Christmas joy and Christmas memories with all of you today. So,
let's see what we got here. Ketchup. Well, this is good. This is good. All right. Wait a second. Scorpio Caesar, are you serious right now? You really want me to make you a video for Christmas in 2024 from last year?
Shut up! Some of us have to work on the holidays, and besides, this Christmas tree doesn't go down till Valentine's Day. And I always say, it's never too late for a Christmas video.
Fine. Let's get into it.
Anyways, welcome to the CesArcade.
Get ready.
I was already at the age where I was like, yeah, Santa's just a clever ruse and a disguise. My parents get all the credit for this. They were the real Santas and the real MVPs. They always made sure that we had the best Christmases that we can have. Mom and Dad, mwah, thank you so much for all the amazing Christmases that you had for us. I really do love you guys, and you guys kicked ass. Back in 1998, I remember wanting the Game Boy. That's right, I never owned the original Game Boy, which was out for years at that point, and the Game Boy Pocket I do remember being advertised. So I was like, I want a Game Boy Pocket because I want to play this new Pokemon game that I'm not too familiar with, but I remember being enamored by the box arts and how beautiful they looked. I wanted the blue version because I loved the way that turtle-looking dude looked. Blastoise. Lo and behold, on Christmas of 1998, I unwrapped my very first handheld gaming device, and that was the Game Boy Pocket. It's right here. It's seen better days, but it still works. And I've kept this relic in my collection ever since, and it's one of those pieces that survived throughout the years. And they didn't just get me the Game Boy Pocket. No, they didn't. They got me this carrying case as well for it. And this is the same exact one that I have all these years, because Pokemon was just starting to reach the height of its popularity. It was just bursting onto the scene, and I was already into it. Here we have the very first Pikachu that I ever got from them as well. It's a little plushy Pikachu that actually talks. If you listen, you can still hear it. Not only that, but they also got me Pokemon Blue. And I also ended up getting Godzilla on the Game Boy from my brother-in-law and sister, who already knew that I was getting the Game Boy Pocket. So they knew I loved Godzilla. I mean, look behind me. They knew I loved Godzilla, so they got me that one. It's not my favorite Godzilla game, but it's the memories that I have playing that game. The very first Godzilla game I've ever played is that one right there. With Pokemon Blue, kickstarted my love for handheld gaming. It was my very first Japanese RPG, my very first entry into the role-playing game genre. It is one, so get over yourself. It's all history from there for Pokemon. Now moving on to Christmas of 1999. I don't remember exactly what games I necessarily asked for, but there was one instance that I think it was my mother who told me to go up to my Uncle Carlos and show him this game that I wanted because I was a Star Wars fan at the time. And she told me to go tell him, you know, jokingly, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think she was serious. I didn't think he was gonna take me seriously, but I showed him the box art of Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64. And when we celebrated Christmas that year with my mother's side of the family at my grandmother's place, I opened up Star Wars Rogue Squadron for my Uncle Carlos. It's a memory that I just, You know, it meant a lot to me as a kid because I didn't think it was good. He was going to get me the game that I asked for. It was kind of like a joke between me and my mother. I believe it was my mother, or it was my father. I don't know, maybe one of them can confirm. But yeah, Star Wars Rogue Squadron is a game that, oh my god, one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games to boot. Also that Christmas, he was giving out copies of a PS1 game called Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, which was obviously from the Wu-Tang Clan. He was giving those out for free, and you know, he was working with the Wu-Tang Clan at the time. And it was unfortunate that I no longer have that piece in my collection, but one day I will reclaim it and hopefully have it in my collection. I do know it's a bit of a rarer game now on the PS1, and it fetched a high price, but I will get it one day once again. So that was Christmas of 1999. Now in the year 2000, I don't remember exactly how many games I asked for, if I asked for many at all, but there was one in particular that was coming out that I just had to have. Now I remember my sister showing me a Fingerhut magazine, or was it a Toys R Us ad? But she was like, guess what game that we love is getting a sequel finally? And I'm like, I don't recall. I don't remember what answers I gave her, but they were all the wrong ones. And she's like, you dumbass, look! And she showed me the ad for Banjo-Tooie. I was like, oh my god, they're actually making a Banjo-Tooie? They actually made it and it's coming out? Yeah, you see, at the time, I didn't look on the internet to look and find out what games were being in development. There wasn't IGN back then. We didn't have a computer at home. So there was no access to the internet. All we knew was what was in the magazines at the time. You know, growing up in the 90s was fantastic. I mean, the times. So yeah, Banjo-Tooie was another game that I got that I have so many fond memories of playing non-stop from Christmas and in the years that followed, because it was such a huge game, way bigger than Banjo-Kazooie originally was. And you know, a lot of people say that the first game was better. Me personally, I thought part 2 was better, but I love them both. And the year 2000 was definitely the year of Banjo-Tooie for me. By the time 2001 came around, I was a bit more aware of what games were coming out. We had a computer, we had more access to the internet, and at that point, my brother-in-law and sister had gifted us a PlayStation 2. So with it, we got Ace Combat 4. That came a little bit before Christmas Day, so it was kind of an early Christmas gift, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna ask for some PS2 games for Christmas. So I asked for WWF SmackDown Just Bring It. Now, me and my sister were just finally getting deep into WWF, and at the time, which was WWE now, and SmackDown Just Bring It was the new hottest game that was coming out for the system, so we had to have it. Absolutely loved playing it, despite the intro cinematic sequence not looking anything like the final actual in-game graphics. But it was still a great time nonetheless, because I loved the SmackDown series already at that point. So having SmackDown 3, Just Bring It, was fantastic. She also asked for Crazy Taxi on the PlayStation 2. You see, we didn't have any Sega consoles growing up, so on my cousin Tony's Dreamcast, we got to try out Crazy Taxi. She loved it, and she ended up asking it for Christmas. So we got Crazy Taxi as well. And that Christmas, I also remember asking for WWF Road to WrestleMania on the Game Boy Advance. You know, at the time, it was fun. I had a lot of fun times playing this game at night when I should have been sleeping for school the next day. It's no wonder why I have permanent bags under my eyes. It's because of games like this that I would just constantly play without stopping. But this wasn't the only Game Boy Advance game that I played that year. No, I also asked for Jurassic Park 3 Park Builder on the Game Boy Advance, because I did enjoy Operation Genesis, but I wanted a handheld experience. And this game was tough. There were so many times where I got game overs because my park went bankrupt or the dinosaurs were eating the guests. But if you look at the gameplay here, it's so simple compared to what we have today in terms of park building games. And for the Game Boy Advance, it was surprisingly deep with a bunch of different species of dinosaurs that you could have in your park. It was a dream come true. to be able to have my very own park builder, roller coaster tycoon style game in the palm of my hands in the Game Boy Advance. And this is a game that I still have today, and I love it to death. The music in particular is some of my favorite music. So by the time 2002 rolled around, I had a Nintendo GameCube, and there were some games that I just wanted to have. And after seeing so many advertisements for them, I decided I wanted Metroid Prime and Animal Crossing. Two games that in particular I remember having so many memories of, just playing non-stop during my Christmas holiday break. Christmas night in particular, when I got Metroid Prime, I ended up getting a Wavebird wireless controller, and this was a game changer. My parents also got me this lava lamp that I really liked, and unfortunately it didn't last more than a day. I remember some of my earliest villagers in my very first Animal Crossing save was Bob, Goose, Paulo. I love Animal Crossing on the GameCube. Still one of my favorite games of all time on that system. And of course, my favorite GameCube game of all time, Metroid Prime. I stayed up all damn night. This was back when I was young and I could pull all-nighters. Now I can't do that. My body's just not built the same anymore. But I played Metroid Prime to death. I played it non-stop, which is probably why my lava lamp ended up dying, because it was on all freaking night. But oh my god, so many memories with Metroid Prime, and the Christmas of 2002 was amazing. In 2003, I remember getting these two games in particular on the GameCube, and they were Pokemon Channel and Yu-Gi-Oh! Falsebound Kingdom. The coolest thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Falsebound Kingdom was the cards that it came with, that unfortunately I no longer have. This game was a slog. It was nothing like the actual card game, and I mean, I should have noticed by the screenshots that something was off when I looked it up, but I asked for it anyways. I thought it was going to be a good time. Little did I know it was going to be one boring ass game. I mean, but it was, you know, it was still a gift. So that one goes on the naughty list in retrospect. I did enjoy Pokemon Channel, which a lot of people would argue that isn't really a game in particular. Me personally, I absolutely adore this game. Critics hated it, fans hated it, I loved it. And one day I would like to make a video talking about Pokemon Channel, because it's just such a feel-good game. It's got such a cozy feeling to it. Come 2004, I started asking for a lot more games, and I got them, oh boy. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, a game that needs no introduction, ended up being one of my favorite Metal Gear games of all time. Then I also asked for WWE SmackDown vs. Raw, which gets my vote for the worst cover art for a wrestling game. It's got Vince McMahon's ugly ass mug on it. Metroid Prime 2 was another game that I also got that year, and things are falling down here. Metroid Prime 2, I didn't enjoy as much as the first game, and I didn't get that far in it. Unfortunately, I don't know what it was, it just didn't hook me quite like the original game did, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me on that, but I did love the box art for it. It's holographic and everything, it's beautiful. That out of the way, I also ended up getting another Game Boy Advance game. It was a Star Wars game called Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. Look at this. This is being blown up using Game Boy interface on a modded GameCube. You could barely see the enemies on screen or what's coming at you, right? Now just imagine this on a non-backlit Game Boy Advance. It's terrible. This game goes on my naughty list. However, I still played through it. I beat it somehow. I don't know how I did that, I just did. Because a couple years later, when we were celebrating Christmas with my aunts and cousins upstairs, my younger cousin actually got this game for Christmas as well. I held in my laughter, and I looked at him and I said, yeah, that's a good game. You're gonna enjoy this one. 2005 was the launch year for the Xbox 360. We already had it by Christmas, and there were, of course, launch games that I had to get for it. Need for Speed Most Wanted, Ridge Racer 6, Project Gotham Racing 3, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Quake 4, and Perfect Dark Zero. all of these games that I mentioned, I got in the same year. And I have a lot of memories playing these games. Granted, I did enjoy some more than others, but there were some in here that were better than others. Let's just leave it at that. So yeah, 2005 was the year of the 360 for me, and that's pretty much all I asked for. And then in 2006, something happened. I asked for some games, of course, and the last game I remember getting was Sonic 06. Mind you, this was the very first Sonic game that I actually owned. Let that sink in for a minute. It's a guilty pleasure. So when I originally had the idea for this video last year, I asked a few other people to join me on it. Unfortunately, they already were a part of a similar video for somebody else's channel. So joining me today, I have SergmanX to tell us a little bit about his Christmas gaming memory.
Hello, and thank you to Scorpio Caesar for having me on this video to discuss one of my favorite things I ever got for Christmas, and that is none other than the Nintendo GameCube. Now, sadly, this isn't the original GameCube that I got for Christmas. That one I sold for Twilight Princess on the Wii when that system came out, since the Wii was backwards compatible, but that GameCube was messed up anyway. I left it on for 20 hours once to unlock Mewtwo and Smash Bros. Melee, and that kind of messed it up. And I think I put a cloth over it to protect it from the dust, so when I was a kid I didn't know better. And with that, I received, same copy, Super Mario Sunshine, although I did have to replace the manual because I lent the game to my cousin, and when he gave it back to me, the manual was gone, so I had to replace that. And I still have my original copy of Mario Party 4, still my favorite Mario Party game to date. I think it's the best in the franchise, but that's just my opinion. And the first game that I bought for the system, Sonic Mega Collection, and I didn't have access to the Family Genesis anymore. My parents, I think, gave it away to a family friend. So me having these Sonic games again to play, because I had all these. I had Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Spinball, Robotnik's Meme Machine. I played them all when they were relevant, when they came out. And the GameCube library has just expanded over the years. I feel like a lot of people appreciate it more now than back in the day. In fact, I chose that over the PS2 because of games like Melee, games like Metroid Prime coming up in the future, and no regrets. So that has been my favorite thing I've ever received on Christmas. Thank you for having me on the video. Have a good one.
Hey, you can't go wrong with the GameCube. Thanks for joining me, SergmanX. And next, we have AndyBplays, who actually sent me this clip last year. Now, originally, I thought I lost this video because of my D drive crapping out, but thanks to the Google Cloud Drive, or whatever the hell it's called, I actually still have the clip, so I'm gonna keep my word and share it with you all today. So here's AndyBplays with some Christmas gaming memories.
What's going on, everybody? It's me, Andy B, and my good friend Scorpio Caesar asked me to join in on a little collaboration video involving Christmas and video games. He's asking us to tell you guys a story or two about some of our favorite memories with video games and Christmas. I've got two of them. First one's happy memory. Well, they're both happy memories to me. Second one, a little mischievous, it's a good time, stuff like that. So let's get into the first one first. So, Metroid Fusion, one of my favorite games of all time on the Game Boy Advance, right? This game came out, I think, in like 2003. I can't exactly remember the exact date, but I remember I was young enough to be living with my parents still, and we were driving from our house to my sister's house to have a little Christmas Eve get-together, okay? I had that little, Game Boy Advance shark light that you could put on top of your Game Boy Advance so you can see in the dark. I didn't quite have an SP yet, or maybe I did. I actually don't remember, but I digress. So I remember playing it in the back seat while we were driving to my sister's house, and I remember just the way the snow was falling, the lights were shining, all the Christmas lights everywhere. When I was in the back seat, we were listening to Christmas music. It was absolutely amazing. Now, every single time I think of Metroid Fusion, I think about Christmas. And every single time that I think about Christmas, especially this time of year in December, I think about Metroid Fusion. I love that game, love this time of year. Now the second one is a little more mischievous, like I said. This one is kind of a bad kid. So 2005 rolls around, right? It's the Nintendo DS, it's coming out. I'm super excited, I'm asking my mom, please, 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 I need this. I need it so bad, I've been such a good kid. All these things, right? So I stay home from school because I played sick a lot. I was not a very good kid. I remember skipping school, staying home, looking through their stuff while they were at work, my mom and stepdad, finding the box for the Nintendo DS. And it came with a demo for Metroid Prime Pinball. I was over the moon excited. I got a little X-Acto knife. I cut the tape right off of there so no one would suspect that I opened it. I played this sucker all day long. I beat that demo so many times, absolutely insane. And I put it all back nice and neat as if no one would ever know. And I don't know if she ever knew or not because I never got caught. I then opened it on Christmas Day and it was amazing. I was over the moon excited, obviously. I wasn't going to tell them that I did that. But yeah, those were some of my favorite 2 moments involving video games and Christmas. Thank you so much for giving me this spotlight to kind of tell you guys some stories of mine. I appreciate it so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the rest of the video. Peace.
As the years go by, I tend to ask for video games less and less, considering how expensive video games have gotten in recent years. I'd rather just ask for smaller things, maybe like a Blu-ray set that's on sale. I'd rather just buy the games myself these days, especially, like I said, how expensive some of these video games have gotten. So, unfortunately, my last real memory of video games for Christmas was Sonic 06. So, I mean, there's not really much else than... Hi, wife. What can I do for you?
Got your last minute Christmas present.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Last minute Christmas gift. Despite the date that this video goes up, she's got me something else. Feels expensive.
I love you.
I love you too. How'd you get this?
Me and BB teamed up to get this for you.
Oh no. BB's crazy. And so are you. What did you get me?
You'll see. Spared no expense.
Oh. No. How could you? This is... Magic Knight Rayearth on the Sega Saturn? Are you kidding me? This was the last North American release for the console. This is one of my holy grails. This is one of the most expensive games out there. Does it come with...
The stickers? Yes.
It has the stickers?
It has the stickers.
Oh my god. The disc it's got the Foo disc.
Foo disc.
It's in pristine shape. Are you nuts?
Maybe.
How the hell did you afford this, you two, you maniacs? Like, the freaking manual's holofoil, and even the back of the box is holofoil. It has its stickers, the disc is in pristine shape. You had to have imported this somehow, and it's the NTSC version. This thing cost a fortune.
It did cost me a fortune. Now what else did you get me?